Another trade deadline, another time that Isaiah Thomas has been moved to a different team. This has been the story of Isaiah Thomas's whole career. He's been moved 3 different times at the NBA trade deadline, and there was no difference this last NBA trade deadline. Hey guys, my name is Crush, and today we're going to be talking about the hard truth about Isaiah Thomas's NBA career. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Let's jump into this. Before we talk about Isaiah Thomas's move to the Lakers now, I want to go back to his whole entire career, right in the very beginning, where Isaiah Thomas was drafted 60th overall by the Sacramento Kings. The Kings were essentially taking a chance on this guy. He ultimately ended up spending 3 seasons with the Kings. He did play pretty decent there. He eventually beat out Jimmer Fredette for the starting spot, because this is around the time when Jimmer Fredette was coming into the league. But Isaiah Thomas has no doubt been doubted his whole entire career. He was drafted 60th overall, the last pick in the entire draft. And the Sacramento Kings took a chance on him, which wasn't a bad draft pick at all, because Isaiah Thomas has obviously had some success in the NBA. He had some early success with the Kings a little bit. It just ultimately didn't end up working out. It just seems like that's the story of Isaiah Thomas's career. Just these relationships with these teams just ultimately doesn't work out for him and the team involved. I'm not sure what the problem with it really is. Is it Isaiah Thomas's attitude? Lately, he's had a large ego, and maybe Isaiah Thomas's ego is just getting him in a lot of trouble. Fast forward 3 years later, after he was drafted by the Sacramento Kings, he is traded at his first NBA trade deadline to the Phoenix Suns in a sign and trade agreement, and the Kings acquired the rights to 2013 second rounder Alex Oria. I don't even know how to say his last name. I don't even know who the guy is. So Isaiah Thomas was basically traded for a bag of chips, it seems like, from the Sacramento Kings to the Phoenix Suns, which Isaiah Thomas spent a nice stint with the Phoenix Suns and ultimately didn't work out there either. But you could say it wasn't really Isaiah Thomas's fault, as the Phoenix Suns were doing something really weird where they had like a 3-headed monster at point guard with Goran Dragic and Eric Bledsoe and Isaiah Thomas. It just didn't work out at all. It just didn't work out. And ultimately, the Phoenix Suns ended up trading Goran Dragic and Isaiah Thomas, and they kept Eric Bledsoe there. But look how that's worked out for them now, because Eric Bledsoe has been traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. But Isaiah Thomas didn't spend too much time with the Phoenix Suns, and ultimately that contract extension he signed is still the contract that he's on as of right now, and nothing has changed. He's still on the last year of that contract that the Kings gave him in that sign and trade agreement. And now Isaiah Thomas is looking to cash out with a different team. It's just a matter of who is willing to give that money up for Isaiah Thomas. Now fast forward to the 2015 trade deadline, and you have the biggest saga of Isaiah Thomas's career, where he had a nice stint with the Boston Celtics. Again, he was traded away, unfortunately, though. This is basically how Isaiah Thomas's Celtic career went. Isaiah Thomas was acquired at the 2015 trade deadline, and the Celtics ended up making the 8th seed. And I remember this because this is kind of around the time where I started really getting into basketball. And Isaiah Thomas, I remember, was coming off the bench for Marcus Smart. That's how Isaiah Thomas started out his career with the Boston Celtics. That season after the trade deadline, they had Isaiah Thomas as their 6th man. Even in the playoffs when they faced the Cavaliers in the first round, Isaiah Thomas came off the bench. He was their 6th man, the Boston Celtics. Marcus Smart started, Isaiah Thomas came off the bench. It was interesting, but the very next season, obviously, the Celtics decided to start Isaiah Thomas, which obviously it worked out. Isaiah Thomas has had a great campaign with the Boston Celtics. It just ultimately came down that Danny Ainge just didn't want to pay Isaiah Thomas. That's ultimately what it came down to. And obviously, Isaiah Thomas, hinted at wanting to make a lot of money in the offseason. And ultimately, Danny Ainge was just not willing to give up that money. Isaiah Thomas gave a lot up for the Boston Celtics. He literally played the day his sister died. Like, that was literally the most tragic thing I've ever heard. And Isaiah Thomas decided to play. He had a great season with the Boston Celtics. He almost averaged 30 points per game. He got the Boston Celtics to the Eastern Conference Finals. He had a great season with the Boston Celtics. A great story with the Boston Celtics. It just ultimately just didn't work out in the end. And Isaiah Thomas once again was traded away by a team that ultimately just didn't want him and didn't have him as part of their future plans. And unfortunately, Isaiah Thomas, you're just not something Boston wanted. They do miss you there, I'm sure. Who knows? Maybe we get bought out by the Los Angeles Lakers and Danny Ainge is like, hey, you want to come for the Boston Celtics? We'll give you a 1-year, $1 million deal. And Isaiah Thomas is probably going to tell them to, you know, screw off. The last thing I said was a total joke, by the way. I don't think the Boston Celtics are interested in bringing Isaiah Thomas back if he were to even get bought out. But sounds like right now, Isaiah Thomas will not be bought out, and Magic Johnson is very excited to have him here, or have him there. So now, fast forwarding into the present, Isaiah Thomas gets traded from the Cleveland Cavaliers. We kind of jumped into this yesterday, but unfortunately, Isaiah Thomas once again just didn't work out for a team. He just didn't. Like, Cleveland and Isaiah Thomas just didn't mix well together, and Isaiah Thomas unfortunately kind of buried himself in Cleveland. Basically, what this dude was doing, he would go to the locker room every day and start talking. He just talked in post-game interviews, and it just ended up ultimately ruining the Cleveland Cavaliers' chemistry even worse than it already was. Isaiah Thomas was literally pointing fingers at everyone else for not playing defense. He was saying, the Cavaliers don't even change their game plan in the middle of the game. The Cavaliers don't even practice. All this mumbo-jumbo Isaiah Thomas was going on about, it just didn't make any sense to me. I mean, Isaiah Thomas was like in no position to say any of those things he was saying about the Cavaliers, and he ultimately just got traded away. Now Isaiah Thomas is on the Los Angeles Lakers. The reason being why Isaiah Thomas is probably the most unluckiest players in the NBA. Not unlucky, I would just say that his career just seems very sad. Ultimately, no team wants him because his defense and how short he is. And the fact that he has a very, very bad hip injury right now that seems like he may, who knows if he can recover from it. It's not helping his case at all because teams are very worried about it. And it's just, sadly, Isaiah Thomas has honestly been traded to every team he's been on. And who knows, that trend may continue even when he signs with a new team this upcoming offseason. Obviously, we have no idea where Isaiah Thomas is going to land. But I feel for the man. I feel for the man. Saying man 3 times. Isaiah Thomas has just been doubted his whole career and will continue to be doubted because of his size and the fact he don't play defense. He relies on a lot of his athleticism, his quick movement, and if that hip never recovers to what it used to be, who knows if Isaiah Thomas can even become what he once was. That's it for me, y'all. Thank you guys so much for watching, and let me know what you guys think about Isaiah Thomas's career. What do you guys think? Do you think he's just completely doubted, or do you think he's traded for a certain reason? Smash that like button if you did enjoy the video, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. We do daily talk videos like this every day. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Crushables, and I'm saying peace.